What's going on, Exploders? Welcome back to the channel, and today is an exciting day for me as I'm unveiling a third generation of a product that kind of put me on the map as far as product development. Of course, I'm talking about the GoPro mounts, and specifically the hat mount and the Boonie Hat Mount for the new GoPro Hero 8. This time around we're on generation 3 of this mount, and those are dictated by GoPro designs. And as Hero 8 came out, it introduced a whole new design language for GoPro. So in order to follow that, I had to redesign my mounts and pretty much rethink how they mount. They mount completely different from the previous generations. And in that process, I ended up greatly improving these mounts, making them slimmer, smaller, lowering the center of gravity for the camera. And with all those changes, the price of them has come down a little bit as well compared to the previous models. So let's talk about the hat mount first. The latest generation of the GoPro no longer uses a case. The arms that connected to all the accessories flip out from underneath. Instead of following precedent, I decided to take advantage of these new changes and improve the mount. So when installing it in my mount, you're actually going to fold these. What we're actually using are the two openings that the arms create when they're folded down. Those interlock with these pegs here, both on the hat mount and on the Boonie Hat Mount. Now, in order to insert the camera into the mount, it's really simple. All you do is slide it from the side, push until the power button lines up and until you hear that click, and that's the two prongs clicking in here. Once that's in, it's a real solid connection. As you can see, it's in there really well, and it's further stabilized when it's on top of the hat because it can no longer flex so easily with the Velcro backing here and the hook over the bill. Now, speaking of the Velcro, you will have to provide a strip of Velcro here. I'm using a sticky back industrial strength. That part will now connect to your hat Velcro. You will need a hat that does have this Velcro patch here. I have seen people use these without the Velcro backing, just with the hook. And for more calm activities, that's appropriate. If you're filming around the house or you're going on a hike or something, you could get away with it. But for any intense activities like running, crouching, leaning, you will need the Velcro strip on the back. Now, once that's in, you could insert the camera either with the mount off the hat or on the hat. But for our sake, since we already have the camera in there, the next step is to simply hook this onto the hat. It follows the profile of the bill, and it's a stiff hook on here that clamps over the edge of the bill. So line it up dead center best you can, and then simply slide it back. When you're happy with it, lean it back, wiggle it around a little bit so it hooks on, and the mount's installed. And you're ready to go. You have access to all the controls. I would recommend setting it to one button record so you can just tap, hear the beep, and not worry about it. Of course, you have access to the power, and if you remove this, you have access to the SD card and the battery. Now, as you can see with this new design, the camera sits almost flat on the bill, which makes it more stable, less wiggly up there, and shrinks the whole profile of it, so it looks a little better. I think it looks a lot better actually compared to the previous models. It doesn't go as high as the top of your head, which is a nice touch to the overall look of the thing. And because you don't have the bulky case, the camera feels smaller, and the whole package is just sleeker and simpler and more modern look. This will hold in here really well, and I've tested it with typical activities that I do. But if you are worried about it falling out, there's an option to add a zip tie that comes in through the bottom and then is passed over the front of the camera through this opening here. Then you cap it with the back of another zip tie, the locking part, and you trim them both back, and now the camera is in there for life. It would take an act of God for it to wiggle out of there. So you have an option of either running it in this kind of quick remove state, or if you really want to lock it down, add a zip tie and you're set. The reason I created these mounts in the first place is I never wanted to worry about where my camera is looking. With traditional GoPro mounts, you simply lock down the thumb screw, and then the camera has a lot of leeway to move if it's bumped or wiggled. And that's something I didn't want to worry about either when I'm out there airsofting or hiking. I just want to insert the camera and forget about it. And the angle has been calculated for many generations now to look exactly where you want it to be. All you have to do is throw the head on your head, and you know the camera is recording what you're looking at. So easy, carefree operation, which is the whole goal of these mounts. Make sure you always get that right angle and you never have to think about it. Removing the camera is just as simple. All you have to do is lean back, lift it up and over, and it's free. You could leave the mount on the hat, and then you could insert it right back when you need it again, and then you have your camera to download the data or use it elsewhere. Speaking of using it elsewhere, let's talk about the Boonie Hat Mount. This uses the same concept of locking the camera between two friction points and the locking tabs here that again lock into the arms that are folded underneath now. The way this attaches to the Boonie Hat mount is a little bit different because we take advantage of the loops on the Boonie Hat mount. Now this one here had some narrow loops, so what I did was widen them by removing a layer of stitching on each one and give me a double wide loop. You may or may not have to do that depending on your Boonie Hat, but this one had tight loops and it required a little bit of widening. Most of them are designed to fit this as is right from the store. Now here you don't need any additional accessories. All you need is this mount, the camera, and the Boonie. To put this on your Boonie Hat, all you have to do is find the center. Now I have mine marked so I never have to think about it. And then take the two prongs and slide it in between the loops. The strap falls into the recessed area here that is specifically designed to keep it flush and keep it hidden and keep it from moving. Now once that's in there, you're gonna take your camera, line up the power button with the opening, and then you're gonna squeeze it in there over the prongs, right, just like that. And when they lock, you know you're good to go. As you can see, the mount is shaped to go around the curvature of your forehead and your head, and it's a double curved way. And the loops keep it tied to the Boonie Hat with your head underneath there, as we have with our beautiful mannequin here. It's very stable. You see very little movement. Combine that with the excellent stabilization on these GoPro Hero 8 cameras and you have a pretty much motion-free recording. So once it's in there, you are set just like with the hat mount. At this point you hit the record button, you're good to go. The angle is always perfect. There's no chance of it wiggling out of its proper orientation for that great POV. I personally love the Boonie Hat mount. It's real simple. You throw it on, it's very well balanced. Here I have a pouch for a power bank. When you combine the two, it's just a real balanced platform, real simple. Now if you're obsessive about movement and you really want to lock this down, there's an opening back here that you could pass a bungee through or some paracord and further stabilize it. But as you can see, this thing's pretty much attached to your head. So these are the two new offerings. Of course, we still have the helmet mount as well, if that's your preference. And all the previous generations are always available at brainexplodercreations.com. So if you're looking for a simple, clean, repeatable way to record, check these out. I'll have all the links down below. And you'll help out American industry, as all these are made in America, in New York to be specific, and no waste, as they're 3D printed on demand. So help the planet, help me, and help yourself. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Now one tip I'll give you when recording is to use the 1440 resolution. Now that's your standard 1920 width, but instead of the 1080 height, you have a little bit of extra. So depending on the situation, you could pan down or you could pan up in your image when you export it in traditional 1080p.